All right, so today's lesson is 1-6. It's multiply linear expressions. You guys know what linear expressions are? They are expressions that form a line. Linear, right? Okay? All right, so to multiply a sum or a difference by a monomial, and monomial is something we learned last class, sum or a difference by a monomial, you can use the distributive property. Okay? Now the distributive property says to multiply each term inside the parentheses by the monomial on the outside of the parentheses. So here is what it looks like algebraically with variables. Okay? So we have this letter A times this sum. The sum is B plus C. You could also have a difference. It could say B minus C. But this one, A times a quantity, B plus C. Now, for the distributive property, we're going to take this A and we're going to multiply it times everything inside the parentheses. So we have A times B plus A times C. So example 1 is multiply linear expressions. So we are going to use the distributive property to multiply these two together. So we've got, and the way we write this, so this is one monomial and this is a linear expression. So we're going to take the 2.08x and we're going to multiply that times 3x minus 9. So I'm going to take this 2.08x and I'm going to multiply it times everything inside the parentheses. Okay? So we've got a 2.08x times a 3x. So when we do that, you guys are going to multiply 2.08 times 3. So we've got 2.08 times 3, and that gives us 6.24, right? Oops. That gives us 6.24. We also have x times x, and x times x is x squared. Very good. And now we're going to multiply 2.08x times a negative 9. Now, I want to say this to you guys. You need to remember this forever, okay? The operation is also the sign of the number that follows. Is everybody clear? So now we're going to take this 2.08x and we're going to multiply it times a negative 9. So 2.08 times negative 9 and that's going to give us 18.72. And it's going to be a negative, right? Now, watch when I write it. It's a negative, what do we say? Negative 18.72. So when we write, and don't forget the x. So this is going to be a negative 18.72x. Did everybody see the operation and the sign are the same? All right, with your table partners, go ahead and do this next problem. All right, so here we have 3 times the quantity 4x minus 1.5. So we're going to take that 3, we're going to multiply it times the first term. So 3 times 4x, that's 12x, right? And then we're going to multiply the 3 times the negative 1.5. And that's going to give me a negative 4.5. All right, so example 2, we're going to use the distributive property to multiply these expressions. Okay, now we've got 3/7 m. So 3/7 m times 1/9 m minus 14. Okay? All right, so here we are going to take the 3/7 m and we're going to multiply that times everything inside the parentheses. So this gets multiplied times this, and gets multiplied times that. Okay? Now, 3/7 times 1/9. You guys, when I do my fractions, I like to write it down so I can see it. So 3/7 times 1/9. Does everybody see I can simplify that before I multiply? So this is going to be 1 and 3. So what is my fraction going to do? 1 over, what's 7 times 3? 21. So this is going to be 1 over 21m squared, because it's m times n, right? And now we're going to multiply the 3/7 m times the negative 14. So again, I'm going to write it up here. 3/7 times 14 over 1, right? And of course, you see that we can simplify before we multiply. And what are we going to get up there? What's 3 times 2? 6 over 1 times 1 is 1. So this is going to be minus, because it's a negative, right? So negative minus 6m. Take a minute to do example 2b with your table partners. All right, so for this one, you guys, we have 1/3 x times the quantity 4/5 x minus 3/7. And again, I wrote my scratch paperwork up here. So 1/3 times 4/5, you can see you can't simplify any of that. So that's just going to be 4/15. And then this is x times x, which is x squared. And then we've got 1/3 x times negative 3/7. So I do the 1/3 times 3/7, that gives me 1/7. And then we bring the x down because it's x, it's just times x. All right, example 3 says, on a school visit, Miguel and his class visited an art museum. Because of a donation, the students paid half the cost of admission. Each student paid $3 for the bus ride. The expression x times the quantity 1/2 y plus 3 represents the total cost of the trip, where x is the number of students and y is the ticket cost per person. Write an equivalent expression, then determine the total cost for 25 students to visit the art museum if the ticket costs $6.59 per person. All right, so the important information here says they're giving us this expression right here, right? So this expression represents the total cost of the trip. Each student paid $3 for the bus ride. Where x is the total number of students and y is the ticket cost per person. So x is the number of students and y is the ticket cost per person. You with me? Now, if I continue, it tells me down here that the total cost, let's see, this is the total cost for 25 students, right? And it tells me that the ticket costs $6.59 per person. So the first thing it says here that it's telling me to do is to write an equivalent expression. So we want to take x times the 1/2 y plus 3, and we want to write an equivalent expression. And we're going to use the distributive property to write that equivalent expression. So this x, we multiply times everything inside the parentheses. So 1/2 y times x gives me, what do you think?
0.5yx.
Very good. I'm going to put it in alphabetical order, x, y. And x times the positive 3 is a positive 3x. And there's my equivalent expression. So now it says then determine the total cost. So now we're going to do this. Then to determine the total cost for 25 students. Where does that 25 go?
Where the X is.
It goes in for X. Very good. To visit the art museum, if the ticket costs $6.59, and where does that go?
Y.
That goes in for Y. Right there. That goes in for Y. So now we're just going to substitute in. Okay? All right. So here we've got 0.5 times 25 times Y, which is $6.59, plus 3 times the X, which is 25 again, right? Is everybody clear? So now we just use our calculator, okay? All right, so we're going to multiply 1/2, so 0.5, times 25, times $6.59, and that gives us 82.375. So this 82.375 plus 3 times 25 is 75. Is everybody with me? All right. Now, can I ask you guys, should I round this right now? No. When do we round?
When we're done.
When we're done. We round at the end. Very good. All right. So that's still in the calculator. And in this case, it doesn't really make a difference because we're just adding a whole number, right? So plus 75, and that gives us 157.375. So now we can round to the nearest cent. So how much money is that?
$157
And 38 cents. And 38 cents. So this is going to be the total cost for the trip to the museum.